I know it's hard to get a handle on where is the best place to find free AAPC CEUs, but don't worry because that is what this video is all about. There are lots of expenses as a medical coder, from books to training, but CEUs don't really have to be one of them. By the way, if you're new here, I'm Victoria. I'm a medical coder, auditor, educator, and content creator, and on my channel, I provide tips, tricks, and tutorials to help you be successful in a medical coding career. If you haven't already, I highly encourage you to subscribe, hit that notification bell so you can get alerts when I post new episodes. Now, of course, I want to preface this by saying, as I always do, free is great. We love free stuff. But when it comes to CEUs, while there are a wide variety of great free opportunities, if you're looking for something targeted, something specific, you might want to invest that money in education that is provided by industry experts and consultants. Having that targeted, high-quality education is always worth spending that extra money, especially if you're looking for something very specific, like how to code for hematology-oncology services. So if your goal is just, I'm trying to tick the box on your CEUs, you will find lots of resources for that. But when you're looking for that expert advice, you really should look at investing the money as well. Now, while on the topic of high quality education and saving money, of course, I have to tell you guys that if you are just starting out on your journey and you are interested in becoming a certified medical biller and coder, and you want to get your training in 6 months or less without going into student loan debt, you definitely want to find out how to do that by signing up for my free masterclass below. In my masterclass, I talk about everything that I've learned in over a decade of being a medical biller and coder, how to save you time and money, how to get a discounted training program, how you could possibly get a free laptop with your program, and a lot more. The masterclass gives you that whole roadmap on how you could be job ready as a medical biller and coder in as little as 6 months, but you have to sign up today. Link is in the description. Now back to CEUs. First question, what is a CEU? A CEU is a continuing education unit, and they are used in a lot of professional organizations, pretty much all high-level healthcare careers, doctors, LPNs, medical assistants, and coders have to get continuing education units. Although in certain organizations they refer to them a little bit differently. You may hear the term CME, continuing medical education, for physicians. For coders, we have CEUs, continuing education units. If you have one AAPC certification, you have to get 36 continuing education credits within 2 years. It's usually a 2-year span. If you have multiple certifications, if you have 2 certifications, for example, you have to get 40 CEUs within 2 years. And then it keeps going up from there, and it is capped at a level of 52 for 5 or more certifications. Now with the AAPC, if you have specialty certifications, some of your CEUs might need to be specific to that specialty. Like if you are certified in OBGYN, you may need a certain amount of your CEUs to be specific to OBGYN education topics. Now, if you are a CERC, a certified interventional radiology and cardiology coder, you might be, I hate to say this, but a little bit out of luck as far as free and cheap CEUs go, because the AAPC only has certain vendors that they contractually will allow to provide CEUs for that certification, and because it's so limited, supply and demand, they tend to charge a higher price for CEUs for that CIRCC certification. Now, AHIMA, the American Health Information Management Association, will accept all of AAPC's approved CEUs. So if you have something that's an AAPC approved CEU, it will also work for AHIMA. That doesn't always work vice versa. There are a couple of exceptions, and that is fairly new, which is why I'm doing the new updated 2022 version of this video, because there have been some changes to CEUs. Now, I guess I should start off by saying that you cannot earn CEUs towards your AAPC credentials until you've actually passed your credentials. So if you're still studying, don't worry about getting CEUs, because any CEUs you earn prior to actually passing your exam, you cannot add into your CEU tracker. So if you're training for your CPC and you happen to do some education programs or reviews in April and then get certified in May finally as your first certification as your CPC, you can't apply those for anything that you obtained prior to passing that certification exam. But as an AAPC certified member, there are lots of free CEU opportunities the AAPC provides, first and foremost being Healthcare Business Monthly, which is a free magazine that is given to all AAPC members. There is a quiz on the AAPC website, or you can use your phone app. It's called My AAPC, and if you go in there, you can take quizzes that are related to the content in Healthcare Business Monthly and earn a CEU for each edition. They come out monthly. So remember, I said if you have one certification, that's 36 CEUs every 2 years. Well, Healthcare Business Monthly, if you do them every month for 2 years, that'll be 24. So you would only need another 12 CEUs for that 2-year period. Now, while this isn't free, another low-cost option, if you like the kind of magazine and quiz style, is you can get Billing and Coding Advantage magazine. They're not terribly expensive considering the fact, and that's an easy way to get CEUs as well. They have tons and tons and tons of opportunities available online for free CEUs as a subscriber to BC Advantage magazine. Now, as a AAPC member, you will automatically be defaulted to receiving the digital version of Healthcare Business Monthly. So if you want to get the paper copy, you have to go into your AAPC account, and there is a box that you have to uncheck to get the paper copies of Healthcare Business Monthly if you are a paper copy person. In addition to Healthcare Business Monthly, AAPC also gives 4 yearly free webinars to members. They used to refer to this as the quarterly webinar, but I think it was probably lower on their priority list. So there were sometimes they didn't quite get them out quarterly, and they would have that, the April 1 quarter would hit from April, May, June, and people go, hey, it's April, where's my free quarterly webinar? And maybe they didn't get it out until a little bit later on. So instead of saying they're quarterly, they've just said that they're going to have 4 free yearly webinars. Now, some of these are ones that maybe they've recycled from something else. I've seen sometimes even in the past that they've had CMS, someone come in and do a presentation for the free ones. So sometimes it's kind of scattered as far as topics and things, but you do have those available. As an AAPC member, you will have access to those, and I will link below where you can find them. But basically, if you go to your AAPC CEU information, on the left-hand side, there is a long bar that you can click, and there's a low-cost CEU button. You can find more information about low-cost CEUs there. It used to be right at the top menu bar, but ever since they changed their website design a little bit recently, it's been a little bit harder to navigate exactly to the low-cost CEU page. Now, the next great place you can go to get free CEUs is chapter meetings. The AAPC has lots of chapters throughout the entire world, actually, and you are permitted to go and visit other chapters, specifically if they're having Zoom meetings, etc., and they have the capacity. Now, of course, it's highly encouraged that local chapters are to remain local. You should be trying to receive your education from your local chapter, but say you're someone who's working in general surgery and you're new to it, and you see, there's another chapter in Kentucky, and I'm not in Kentucky, but they're having a really great general surgery coding educator doing a session there. You can email them and go, hey, I see that you need to RSVP. I'm not local to the area, but I'm learning general surgery coding. Can I participate in your chapter meeting? So you're not exactly entitled to just chapter hop everywhere you want, because some chapters might have limited capacity of platforms, like they might have a Zoom account that only holds 100 people, and if you are number 105, you might not be able to get into the meeting because they want to prioritize their actual local members, the people who normally would come to in-person meetings and things like that. It is supposed to have that local chapter feel for it versus just kind of being like a webinar. So I would just be kind of cautiously optimistic, like stay positive that you'll be able to, but don't get upset that if for some reason the chapter says, hey, we can't let you in. Now, AHIMA members, if you are only certified through AHIMA and not through the AAPC, you can still visit a small amount of AAPC local chapter meetings, typically 2 per year, before they would say, hey, we would really prefer you become a member now since you seem to be coming to our meetings a lot and enjoying them. And they can also print off a certificate for you to use for AHIMA purposes. There are some members who are dual certified through AAPC and AHIMA. So if you want to use that same session towards your AHIMA certification, application, there is a certificate that can be printed. Sometimes chapter officers, if they're new or not as familiar with the website, they might not know how to do that, but there is a capacity to do so. If you go into the mark attendance section as a chapter officer, right on the line where that event is, there's a little column that says print certificate, and you can print it right out to hand to AHIMA members to use for their CEUs. Now, remember how I said that AHIMA will take all of AAPC's CEUs, but not necessarily vice versa? So it used to be that AAPC never took AHIMA CEUs, but I actually noticed some changes on the website. So I'm going to just read them off because this is what it says. The website now says on AAPC.com, CEUs are accepted from programs sponsored by AHIMA national offices and the state or regional AHIMA branches. 1 hour of instruction is worth 1 CEU. We also honor CEUs from AHIMA for online self-assessments. A certificate of attendance or completion is necessary to show participation. And then it goes on to say, though, that AAPC they do not accept CEUs from other entities that offer AHIMA approved CEUs. So let's say it's a vendor that has an AHIMA approved CEU, those they won't take. It says these organizations must apply separately for the AAPC CEUs in order to receive the AAPC index number and CEU. For example, ABC Company sponsors a coding event and applies for CEUs through AHIMA. Those are only good through AHIMA. They would need to also apply for AAPC to get the AAPC CEUs. Now, this next tip is one that not a lot of people know, although they are harder to find, and that's you can actually use certain CMEs, continuing medical education credits, for your AAPC CEUs. What it says on the website is that AAPC will honor 1-for-1 CEUs for any event offering CME credit or AMA PRA Category 1 credit. I actually did this myself recently. I got an email from Allegheny Health Network saying that they were offering a CME program worth 2.5 CME, and it was on population health management, which was something I was interested in. So I was able to finish that course, get the CME certificate, and upload it to my CEU tracker for 2.5 CEUs. And actually, Optum provides a bunch of free CMEs on their optumhealtheducation.com website. So you can go there and see if any of their CME programs meet the criteria that you can also use them for AAPC CEUs and sign up. As long as you get your certificate, you can do the one-to-one match to use the CMEs for your AAPC CEUs. Now, CMS used to do a lot of CEUs, but if you look on their website, they actually say that they don't provide AAPC CEUs anymore. However, there is some interesting information that's now on the AAPC website that says that for CEUs for CMS-sponsored webinars and workshops, they are accepted by AAPC at a rate of 1 CEU per 1 hour. The CEUs may come from a CMS national or from the MAC offices. MAC is the Medicare Administrative Contractor. It also states that 1 certificate of attendance or completion with the CMS logo is necessary to show participation. If you have attended or are planning to attend one of the CMS National Provider Conference calls, you should be aware that CMS does not provide certificates of attendance for these calls, but you can still get credit for them. It says instead, AAPC will accept your emailed confirmation for the CMS National Provider Conference call as your proof of participation. And then it just notes that past calls that you didn't pre-register for are not eligible. Now, even though CMS doesn't provide CEUs much anymore, you oftentimes can find them through the Medicare Administrative Contractors, particularly Noridian and Novitas. I know some people have asked in the past, like, hey, it says I need an NPI number. Where do I get an NPI number if I'm not working for a provider at the time? I think they more so need that just to kind of check off a box. I could be wrong, don't take my word for it. But I know in the past I've used things like a local facilities NPI, like whatever my local hospital is that I was working for, or just had nearby, pulled their NPI number off the public database and used that to register to be able to get access to their web-based trainings. Now, another training option that not a lot of people realize is that if you are having an in-service, you can apply through the AAPC to get free CEUs for those. The catch is it has to be a true in-service. It has to be someone within your organization is providing the education to other people within your organization. So you can't bring in like an outside consultant to provide education. It has to be a wholly internal thing. So say if you work for ABC Family Practice and the compliance officer is doing a general compliance and coding education seminar for like 3 hours, you can go onto the AAPC website, set up a vendor account, and apply for CEUs under that, under the free in-service applications. Now, they do often take time to apply for, so I wouldn't do it if it's an education that you have coming up in the next 2 weeks. But if it's something that you're planning a month or so ahead of time, you can set up that vendor account for your organization and apply for those CEUs for in-service education. Now, you can't, again, bring people from the outside and have them do the education. You can't bring people from other organizations and have them come in to get the education. It truly has to be an internal thing. It's also not for things that you would do under your like normal job duties. Like if you're a coder and you're doing physician education because they just had an audit, and you're doing like generalized education, you can apply to get CEUs for that. Now next, the AMBA, the American Medical Billing Association, does offer some free CEUs to AAPC as well as the Practice Management Institute. And those are like monthly-ish, kind of periodic. I will link them in the description below as well if you want to check that out. And make sure you're signed up for those payer updates, because sometimes like Humana or UHC might be doing some periodic education sessions that they're providing to healthcare organizations that are working with their insurance, and you can sometimes get CEUs for those. So if you're not signed up for those emails, you kind of won't know when they're coming up, unless someone who knows about them shares them with the general population, which is why my last suggestion is Facebook groups. So if, say, you're not signed up for that Humana alert and someone from Humana is going to be hosting a free webinar on critical care services, and you can get that information if someone shares it in like a Facebook setting, right? So there are some Facebook groups out there like AAPC CEUs for free or cheap, and as well as the CEU hit list. We used to have hitnots.com, but unfortunately there was just some issues with the website, and then the owner of that retired. So you can check out the CEU hit list on Facebook as well. Oftentimes that's where people will post when those businesses or insurance companies are having those free webinars, or you'll often see this for starter companies. So if someone's starting their own billing company, their own coding education company, one thing they'll do to draw in clientele is provide some free education. You know, nothing though is really free, so they're probably going to ask you for something like your email address to register and add you onto a mailing list. But, you know, it's a give and take. If you want those free CEUs, you have to give something in return, and that something in return might be you get added to their mailing list. It's a great way that new educators use to kind of build up their audience. So that's it. That is all of the best tips that I have for CEUs. If you know of any more, definitely let me know in the comment section below. I will see you guys in the next video. And until then, just keep on coding on.